So here's an introduction to a bit of the dash switches. These are your headlight controls. We've seen a separate video about that. This is the dash illumination when the headlights are on. If I put my headlights on, I got my marker lights and my headlights on now. This is the dash illumination. You can see how the driver information display, the amber colored display, how it changes the brightness of that. And these are the hazards or four-way flashers. So it activates the left and the right signal lights at the same time when you're in an emergency situation. Let me explain to you what we see for gauges on the dash next. The top left one is called the pyrometer. It shows the exhaust gas temperature. At present, this truck is very cold. We will see this usually live between the 6 and the 9. Often when it's quite cool, it's towards the 3, but it can climb up towards the 12 o'clock position. This gauge is our turbo boost. So the best way of describing this is, how hard is the engine working? How hard is the turbo providing additional boost? I'll try to rev the engine. You should see it pick up a little bit. Not a whole bunch, but there's a bit of boost going on there now. But when the truck is pulling a load and when it's climbing a hill or working a bit, you'll see that boost gauge come up to the 12 o'clock position or even a little bit beyond. Now this is a 2008 and your cluster may look, your gauges may look a little bit different, but this one in the bottom left, I'll zoom into that for just a moment so you can see it more clearly. Again, there was our pyrometer up in the top left. There was our boost, turbo boost, and the one on the bottom left is the oil pressure. You will tend to see this one move between 30 and 90. If a truck is really cold and the engine oil is thick, you will often see it sitting at the 90 position. At idle on a warm, newer engine with synthetic oils, after this runs for a while, you'll see that gauge will come more back towards the 30. But overall, you'll see it kind of waver. "90 is high, and when everything is warmed up, you'll see it climb back down towards the 30. So just to show you an overall view again, there's our tachometer, that's obvious. This next one down on this 2008, if you look at that symbol, that is our coolant temperature. The coolant temperature when it gets to operating temperature will be about 180 degrees Fahrenheit. It'll be just above 170. I've got a little heads up about these Volvos. Generally while you're running, it's going to sit at about 180. But if we ever start to climb a hill, say we're in California and really warm, or Arizona, the Volvo engine is very hesitant to turn on its cooling fan. It will allow those temperatures to climb up towards the 210 mark, and it kind of waits as long as it can before it turns that fan on. So you will see sometimes these temperatures climb up towards 210. Don't be alarmed, that's normal. This is a D16 we're looking at right now. The reason that Volvo is hesitant to turn that fan on, the cooling fan on the front of the engine, is it robs horsepower. We're trying to do everything we can to save horsepower and save for driving and get better fuel economy. Let's go look up towards the top right. You'll see the top right is the application air pressure gauge. I'm going to put my foot on the foot brake right now. I'm going to start to gently press my foot on the brake. What that is showing me, push a little bit more, it's showing me how hard I am pushing on the foot brake. The next two gauges down, the F for front and R for rear, are our two air tanks that are used to supply things like our brakes. Our transmission uses air to shift, sleeper, airbags. Gosh, there's a bunch of things on these tractors that use air, and you'll see that as I use air, those gauges will go down. I'm using some air up. When it gets down to about 90 psi right there, my air compressor on the engine is kicked in, and it will start to fill those tanks back up. Now right now I'm at a very low RPM. I'm at idle, so it fills them a little slower. If we give a little bit of throttle, this is more of a realistic situation while we're driving, my RPMs would be up there. My air tanks fill back up a little bit quicker, and they're going to get to about 125 psi, and the compressor will shut off and stop filling those tanks. There we go. On this display, or this gauge cluster, this is our fuel level. So right now we are just a titch above half full. I've got this tractor set up, so this Volvo is showing me, you can choose whatever you want to show on this display. Right now I'm showing outside temperature and my distance to empty. So I've got over 1,000 miles of range on these, on 124 gallons of fuel. It's showing me my odometer in the bottom right hand corner, and it's showing me my engine brake position. Right now it's set to automatic. I'll have a separate video just on engine braking alone, showing me that I'm in neutral. And there is our quick introduction to the gauges in this 2008. Now I've brought us into a 2013 Volvo next. The primary difference between the one that we were looking at before and this tractor is this has the diesel exhaust fluid for the emissions, for the exhaust. And what's changed on this 2013 is, if we look at the top left, let me zoom in there, is the top left now is no longer the pyrometer. It is the turbo followed by the coolant temperature. Below that one is the oil pressure. See how that one's a little bit lower right now? Let me rev the engine, get the RPMs up a little bit, and we'll see our oil pressure climb. But this D13, the oil pressure lives a little bit lower. Now what's changed is this gauge has been introduced. That is the diesel exhaust fluid level. So we are just about a third full on that reservoir. Remember, that's the blue cap, the extra stuff we have to add. Everything on the right-hand side stays the same. It's got fuel level, rear air tank, front air tank, and my brake application is up there.